Ladies and gentlemen across the galaxy, as we're cruising back to my Star Destroyer, let me introduce you to not just our top Zetas video for this month. No. All Zetas ranked from best to worst in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes for July 2020. Let's talk more over at my Star Destroyer, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why we're changing the game up here is traditionally we do our top 50 Zetas video every single quarter, every 3 months, give or take. We were supposed to do it last month, but we aren't going to talk about what happened last month. That kind of delayed everything. But nowadays, with Galactic Legends and big characters having more and more Zetas, I figured top 50 Zeta videos aren't really as viable anymore, because what's the fun of a video, a top 50 Zetas video, if 12 of the top 50 Zetas are part of Galactic Legends, Rey, and Kylo? So guys, I am happy to introduce you to all of the Zetas ranked in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes from best to worst. Hopefully you guys find this helpful. Let me know down below if you would like me to make a spreadsheet that pairs along with our other type of ranking videos that we do out there. Feel free to let me know. It's easy to search for specific characters, and especially if Zeta, it's kind of hard to make a graphic that has all the Zetas on there that you can visibly see. We're going to break down a lot of stuff, how this graph works. I'll kind of walk you through, explain some important things to know about the table overall. Then we're going to go individually through the categories and highlight some important Zetas I want to bring to your attention. So a few things to put out there. Firstly, I will be leaving a link to this spreadsheet down below in the pinned comments, as well as the video description. Feel free to save it for yourselves, share it with your buds, your guild mates. I'm hoping this is going to be a resource that helps out a lot of people, because one, besides just ranking all the Zetas in their categories, how good they are overall, you'll notice as well there are little numbers next to some Zetas. 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1. What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that this table also integrates Zeta order for characters, because some characters have more than one Zeta, and obviously you can't have infinite Zetas in this game. So you want to know which Zetas are the good Zetas to apply first to those characters that have multiple Zetas. So as you'll be saying, for example, if you want to join the Embo cult, you'll see that we have a 1 and a 2. He has 2 Zetas, and if you do want to apply a Zeta to Embo for whatever reason and join the unending loyalty for that cult, you want to give the Way of Kyuzo the first Zeta. And if you want to go all out on Embo and give him all the Zetas, the 2 means that should be the second Zeta you apply. And you'll see that especially for our Galactic Legends, where there's 6 Zetas for each, it's important to know which are probably the better first Zetas to apply to those characters before you finally complete all their Zetas. And one more thing to point out before we start going into the nitty-gritty of the table: we did not rank Yonde-Mundi's Zeta, just like how we didn't rank the character itself in our last ranking video for all the characters. Kind of not appropriate to rank his Zeta, because there's really not much to do with him. He's not a bad character necessarily, but the game is missing stuff from him, and we haven't really been able to adequately test him nor the Zeta, and we don't really have the appropriate team for him. So with that said, let's start talking about the table. So how do we actually rank these Zetas in the game? Well, first thing important to know is that these are not in numerical order. Darth Malik is not the #1 Zeta in the game. Everything's listed alphabetized in their individual category. We are just ranking Zetas in their totality. How good are they overall in the game? And when you look at a Zeta, there's a few things you got to look at. The character itself. Is the character even good? Is the team that they're a part of even good? And really more importantly, how important is that Zeta to amplify that character and or the team? Because Zetas are supposed to be a significant thing you invest in. When you give a Zeta, you ideally want Zetas where the seas part and the light shines from the sky and the angels are singing their choir voices into your ears. So let's start off with the Carbonite branch here. We don't need to talk too much about it. We actually made a video with Mobile Gamer a couple months ago. Rest in pepperoni. Talking about the 10 worst Zetas in Galaxy is probably one of my more fun videos we did this year, where we're just goofing around. But Carbonite, really, you know, almost every Zeta in this game at least has a minor use at best. With these Zetas, either the character's not good, the team that they're a part of isn't really that good, or the Zeta really just doesn't add anything much that really makes that team or character drastically better. These characters have very, very, very low values. I know some people are going to make some arguments, for example, for Jyn Erso down here. The Zetas are going to be extremely minor, and just with the game, the meta is too, Jyn Erso Zeta, when are you going to really enjoy that? It's a team that's not really all that of top tier, and really that Jyn Erso Zeta for Fierce Determination doesn't really have a place. So you got to get bang for your buck with the Zetas, because they're such scarce resources. Let's start talking about the more meaningful Zetas out there. And now we have the Rhodium Tier right over here. And I think the best way to describe the Rhodium is probably novelty Zetas. These Zetas, you're not really going to be hearing the angels sing. You might hear a very faint hum from those angels singing in their choir, but you're not really going to see the seas part and the birds fly. These Zetas, they have at least some minute purpose out there, some minute use. They're just novelty Zetas, and these are really going to be the Zetas where if you're just kind of like a big fan of the character and just want to max them out, feel free to do so. But like some of these Zetas, for example, like we put HK-47 loyalty to the maker, and that's the second Zeta you would apply to him most likely. The thing is, that Zeta really is not adding much unless you're going up against like Bastila Jedi-led teams out there, which we really don't see that much, especially when you're running Darth Revan, because you need Darth Revan HK to really get the most out of it. So these Zetas aren't really going to be adding too much. These are very much so optional Zetas. The characters are either still fantastic. Like Boba Fett, we ranked his Bounty Hunter's Resolve pretty low. Yeah, it's a novelty Zeta. It's nice, but it doesn't drastically transform the character. So these aren't saying these are bad Zetas per se, but these are mostly just going to be novelty Zetas that just maybe add something very minor, but you're not going to notice a drastic improvement of a character and or team, in my opinion, with these Zetas here. And probably the best way to describe this category, we have Magna Guard, a Stunning Strike. Talk about a novelty Zeta. It's not a useless Zeta per se, but really, you can live without that Zeta for Grievous teams or Separatist teams. It's really just like, okay, it's there. It's some minute benefit, but really it's nothing drastically changing the team. Right, but now we're going to talk about probably what's going to be the three most important categories, the Chromium, Rhodium, and Khyber categories for our Zetas. This is where you're going to want to make sure you have a good amount of Zetas. Most of your Zetas should fall within these first three categories right here. And if you're in these bottom two, you're just an extreme fan of a character, or you just like getting those extra little minute Zetas for a particular faction that you love. With the Chromium category, I think the best way to describe it in general is novelty plus. These are Zetas, they have a bit more viability compared to the Rhodium Tier. You definitely hear more of those angels singing out there, all those lovely Torgruta angels and Twi'leks. Oh boy, talk about a choir you want to make sure you attend. General Veer is aggressive tactician, one of my favorite teams. Use Imperial Troopers. They are not a top tier team, but when you add that Zeta to the Veers, you really start seeing that faction that generally is kind of a worthless faction definitely just get some good boost to their viability. And we got other examples here like Chief Chirpa. Chief Chirpa, without the Zeta, the Ewoks faction isn't really all that special. But once you add that Zeta, you turn an F tier team, probably D tier. Let's not get that crazy on the Ewoks, and they become a bit better where they're now usable. This really makes a lot of teams at least usable, or they start adding some extra benefits that you do kind of like. Count Dooku, we threw in here flawless repost. Count Dooku is a great character, so don't confuse Count Dooku and his Zeta being here, meaning that the character is only a mid-grade team and character in the game. Count Dooku is a great character and team to use in the game, but his Zeta flawless repost, it definitely adds a nice layer of cushion and enjoyment to the character himself. But by no means do you need that Zeta to really enjoy Count Dooku. Count Dooku without the Zeta is fantastic, and that Zeta does a novelty plus type of addition where really you start getting those extra benefits where you do start to notice it. Before we move on though, in this Chromium tab, you're going to notice a couple of Zetas for some newer characters. For example, we got Greef Karga, Bring Them in Cold, which is again kind of a novelty plus type of Zeta. It's a good Zeta. It's not going to be as eye-opening as his other Zeta in the Rhodium category, which is sweeten the deal, as we'll talk about in a moment. And same thing of Mandalorian. I want to put those out there because two of their Zetas are located here, Greef Karga and the Mandalorian. And with the Mandalorian now farmable in Galaxy Heroes, this is going to be probably a good indication what Zetas to invest in first, and keep your eyes peeled. We said this before, there's probably good chances in the future, near future, I would say, now that they're free to play farmable, we might see new characters or a legendary involved with these characters, and those Zetas might become even better. The nice thing is, moving forward, we can start noting changes of Zetas moving up and down on this list. And now we got the Rhodium Zetas, ladies and gentlemen, and the best way to describe the Rhodium Tier is these are the very good Zetas in the game. Almost all these Zetas in your journey in Galaxy Heroes, you probably are going to need to have at least 80% of these Zetas. If I had to be kind of on the conservative estimate side, most of your Zetas should be definitely focused in the Rhodium and of course the Khyber tier. And it also kind of correlates to where the meta is right now. In Star Wars Galaxy Heroes right now, the blend, if you're looking at the Grand Arena meta, of course you got Galactic Legends, but you're going to start seeing Darth Revan, Jedi Knight Revans, Darth Traya, General Grievous, Padme Amidala, Galactic Republic, Separatists. All these kind of correlate well with these Zetas. These Zetas are either amazing for the character, they drastically change a character overall, or the team needed Zetas for some teams. Like if you're running a bounty hunter team, you need to at least have the Jango Fett lead Zeta, or you're going to need to at least have the lead on Boss, or for example, the lead on Kylo Ren Unmasked. These Zetas transform teams, transform characters, and are so important because this is where the angels are starting to bop and have a good time in that angelic choir. Some new additions to this list are, for example, the Mandalorian and Greef Karga. We talked about two of their Zetas being in the Chromium tier, in the Rhodium tier. Those Zetas are going to be pretty staple for these new and upcoming bounty hunter teams now that the Mandalorian characters are free to play farmable, disciplined bounty hunter, feeding term meter to the rest of the bounty hunters, and Greef Karga, turning into Captain Rex for the team. Those are amazing Zetas, and keep your eyes peeled. They could become even better depending on how the future pans out. I want to point out one more Zeta, because if we were showing changes the first time we're doing the list, but let's pretend we made the list before, and a couple months ago, we would have one big upgrade to one of the Zetas out there, and that's going to be Imperial Logistics from Imperial Probe Droid. With the recent addition of Darth Vader's rework and Merciless Massacre and that brand new Zeta, we're seeing Darth Vader teams have a big boost in viability, and Imperial Probe Droid Zeta has jumped up quite a few tiers, where now you're going to definitely want that. If you're using Darth Vader, Imperial Probe Droid and that Zeta is definitely one of the better characters to use with Darth Vader. And plus, Imperial Logistics is a good all-around Zeta, preventing buffs with the buff dispel. Has fantastic uses, and of course target lock has synergy with other stuff in the game. So I want to point that out, that Imperial Probe Droid, definitely, if I had to rank it before, it would have been only in the Chromium tab at best, but now with the recent addition of Vader's rework, it gets bumped up in viability, where at some teams it's necessary to have. And lastly, we got the Khyber category, and these are the jerks that stopped us from doing a top 50 list, but I think it's all for the better, because it's great to show all the Zetas in case you cannot have these characters yet in the Khyber territory. These are definitely more the creme de la creme of Galaxy Heroes, the top tier character that might take a while for you to get, or a lot of money if you're someone trying to expedite the process. Darth Vader's Merciless Massacre is on the list, added only a few weeks ago. It is definitely a top tier Zeta in the game. It firstly drastically changes Vader overall and his viability, opens up a lot of team compositions, and that Zeta is responsible, of course, paired with his leadership, inspiring through fear, really rejuvenates Vader to being a counter to a lot of the Galactic Legends, and frankly, a lot of the teams inside of Galaxy Heroes, and that is why I put a little one next to it. If you're going in on Zetas on Vader, Merciless Massacre is definitely going to be the first one. That's why we have the number 1 over here, and of course, over here we have a couple of other ones. Darth Vader, Inspiring Through Fear, number 2, and Darth Vader No Escape, number 3. And we got Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker. Besides the Mandalorian and Galactic Legends that came to the game since our last Zeta video, Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker has come to the game, and by far, if you're looking to just start off with your first Zetas in Jedi Knight Luke, Jedi Knight's Resolve is definitely the best one to go for. A Rhodium Zeta shows his other Zeta, which is for his leadership, which isn't as game-changing right now, but Jedi Knight's Resolve is definitely the better Zeta to add the Jedi Knight Luke. We got Rey, Galactic Legends Rey, and Supreme Leader Kylo, all their Zetas being so drastically important, powerful, and frankly annoying if you're trying to beat them. And last but not least, probably the best overall Zeta that's going to be used for a long time, kind of like Han Solo, Wat Tambor Mass Manufacture. We don't need to talk too much about it. Wat Tambor opens up so much theory crafting potential. We give a lot of credit to Vader for his recent rework, but let's be honest, Wat Tambor definitely has helped Vader a lot through that blast tech weapon mod. So Wat Tambor, when you unlock him, that's definitely a character that deserves a Zeta on the spot, and I suspect it's going to be a Khyber level Zeta for a long time in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be your July 2020 all Zetas ranked from best to worst in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Again, there will be a link down below in the video description if you're looking for Zeta orders for particular characters, or if you're just wanting to know how good is a Zeta on a particular character, feel free to use this list, Command F, Control F, whatever computer you might have to search for the character, and hopefully this is going to help you be a bit more informed when you're giving your Zetas, because let me tell you, one thing that is the same thing that Whales and free-to-play share together is that Zetas are hard to come across, and no matter how much money you spend, you cannot really get that many more Zetas. So you got to be smart and wise and efficient with those Zetas and try to get the best bang for your buck Zetas out there. Like if you did enjoy the video, comment down below and all your beautiful thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And Gary and I will see you in the next video. Gary, roll out the outro.